Grand Rising. Happy Tuesday. I pray everybody's having a positive, productive start to your day today. If not, I pray that your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and of course the Most High help you with that today. I also pray that He clothes us in His armor from head to toe, that He strengthens our discernment and guides our steps as we go throughout this day. That being said, I really wanted to do this on a live because I'm going to talk about the dream I had last night, but I'm running low on data. And so the live kept glitching. I attempted to at least do the daily devotional on the live, but I may end up just deleting that altogether because I ended up having to come and record a video to do it anyways. But hopefully next month I'll be able to afford a better time card for my phone. Copper quit. And I'll have unlimited data. But I had to get the cheaper card this month, and because I already did the live and I've been posting videos, I'm almost out of data already. So, enough of that. 111 on the timer. I'm here to talk about the dream that I had last night. Thankfully, it wasn't as somber as the last dream I had, but nonetheless, interesting. Okay, the dogs are in here, so I may get distracted a little bit by them. We've been outside. It was cold this morning, but thankfully the sun's out now and it's kind of drying things up a little bit. So, before we get started, I'd like to say the Lord's Prayer. Our God, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Okay, so I wrote everything down this morning. It ended up being a whole page, front and back, and then I even had to go over into the borders a little bit. And so I may spring off and like talk some details, but right now I'm just going to go with what was written or what I wrote. 2:33 when I looked at the timer. Okay. I was walking with a group of ladies in an area that looked like Old Saudi, which is where I grew up, Saudi Daisy, Tennessee. We came by a thrift store that had free items sitting outside. We ended up going inside the store and found several more free items that were costume or fancy clothes. Like, you know, my whole costume thing I do. Well, a lot of fancy dresses and stuff make good costumes. I laid them down to go find a bag. And when I came back, two of the other ladies were trying to quickly hide them in their bags. I managed to get some of them back. Like, I literally had to fight with them to get them back. 3:33 on the timer. The store seemed as if it was closing, and the lights were shutting off row by row. You know how it is in Walmart where you have the row? Well, I didn't think of Walmart. What it made me think of was the movie. It's got Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet in it. It's called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. If you have not seen that, it's a Focus feature. Go check it out. That's a great movie. But when they're erasing his memories, they show a scene where all the lights are shutting off row by row. Okay. Then somehow, which once I got further into the dream, I understood why. Then somehow I was in a huge dry cleaning facility. I know it doesn't really make any sense, but and Livingston was there. Okay. Now, first of all, Livingston is much younger than I am. But I love his music. I love his story. There's a lot of things that I like about him. He's a musician. He's an artist. If you haven't heard of him, go check him out. He has a lot of great songs. His two newest ones are Look, Mom, I Can Fly, and Glow. But my favorite is Shadow. Okay, anyways, Livingston was there. It had 2 levels. This is when I realized how I ended up in the dry cleaning facility. The lower level was the shop from earlier, the thrift store. And the upper level was the cleaners. There were a lot of metal staircases, and if you were looking at it from above, if you were up on the second level looking down on the shop, it looked like it was set up like a marketplace. Like I think of, like, at first I thought of The Chosen, and then I thought of Aladdin, how the marketplace is set up with all the different booths. Okay. There were several young men with Livingston. Yeah. And they kept teasing each other about not getting enough sleep. We were talking about thrifting and what kind we do. Like, I do a lot of different thrifting. Like, I'll get things and refurbish them for something else. I do the costume thing. Anyways, that's what we were talking about. Then, at some point, I separated from the group. And there was a couple playing singing bowls. And I don't know why I didn't write this down. But I was talking to the woman of the couple and telling them through discussion, I was able to realize that they had a YouTube channel, and I had watched their YouTube channel. So we were like getting our phones out and and I was like, I liked it. I shared it, and the dude was like, well, no, it's not showing any of that. And I was like, well, I'm going to go back and do it. I guess I didn't write that down because it was too much to write. Okay. So then there was an older man there with them. I say older, just a little bit older than me, but older than them. And he started talking to me and showing me around. And then we started going through this tunnel that led outside. And at some point, I said something about my keys. Like, I don't have my keys, or I've lost my keys, or there was something about keys. And then when we came out of the tunnel outside, this is crazy, man. We were at Saudi Church of God. Well, of course, if you're not from my area, you're not going to know where that's at. But, okay, across the street from the Saudi Church of God is a property that my grandfather used to own, and we used to call it the shop. And it was there, but it was painted gray and black, and it was falling in. Okay, well, behind the church, there's a creek or a stream. Oh, it's a creek. It gets pretty deep sometimes. The water was rushing through the creek, and there were several people standing around talking. And this is another part that I didn't write down. There was a man that was throwing branches of a pine tree into the creek. But the people were talking about how the creek wasn't flowing like it should. And I turned to the older guy that was showing me around, and I said, well, maybe if they weren't throwing a bunch of tree branches in there, it would flow better. Right? Okay. There were several ducks, as we were standing there talking, there were several mallard ducks on the edge of the creek, like on the bank part. And at some point I had sat down. I guess I was like, trying to get the ducks to come to me or something. Well, one of the young ducks, like it wasn't a baby, but it was a young duck, jumped in my lap and started giving me kisses. Like, dude. Okay. So, we did all that. There's all kinds of people gathering around looking at the creek. I'm loving on the duck, and the guy's like, you know, we need to go. It's getting dark. So on our way, going back to the shop, to the dry cleaners, instead of taking the tunnels, we took what looked like wooden bridges that were over water. Go sit down. Go on. Go. Go sit down. Okay. It was getting dark. There was a storm coming. Did I say the wooden bridges over water? I think I did. He's distracting me because he's being nosy. He thinks I'm crazy, like I'm talking to myself, which I kind of am, but not really. It was getting dark and a storm was coming. And everyone was loading into a big boat. So instead of going into the cleaners, everybody was loading in. It wasn't a boat. It was like a ship, really. And I saw Livingston while we were waiting to load. And this is when I had to go over into the margin. And I asked, do you always wake up this early? And honestly, there's a lot. I made a little note that there's a lot of conversation I don't really remember. Like when we were in the beginning, when we were all talking about the thrifting, we had conversation, but I don't really remember what that was. As we were talking, he saw his coat hanging 11:55 on the timer, hanging on one of the metal staircases that was leading from the dry cleaners to the ship. Like the wooden bridges that me and the guy took were coming from like the other direction, like going towards the dry cleaners. But there were metal like bridges and staircases that were leading from the dry cleaners to the ship. And as we were talking, he saw his coat and ran to get it. Then as we were loading onto the ship, the wooden bridges were going under the water. And then I woke up. Like the last thing I remember was looking down and seeing one of the wooden bridges completely submerged with water. And then that's where I made the little note. There's a lot of conversation that I don't really remember. Because like in the beginning with the ladies, when we were walking, we were talking about stuff before we got to the thrift store. But I don't really remember what we were talking about. Whew. I know. It's so like, I feel like there's key points there that are like important. Like I feel like Livingston being there, that means something. I don't really know what, but, and then the couple with the singing bowls, like the people were very significant. I wish that I could remember who the ladies were at the beginning. I think my old friend Nicole was there. I need to write that down. I think my old friend Nicole was there. But there were several ladies. And like I remember there was a bunch of furniture. Like before we actually went into the shop, confirmation. So I guess Nicole was, one of them was Nicole. Like I remember looking at the furniture before we went inside. And like when we went inside, there was like this really long hallway. And we had to go down this really long hallway and turn to the right to be able to get into like the actual store area. And I remember even with the lights on, it was very dark in there. Almost like it was a basement. It may have been a basement. I don't really, let me write that down too. Maybe basement. Because it was, I remember it was really dark and it was really damp. And I remember like there, dude, I love going to thrift stores, okay? You take me to a big enough thrift store and I can be in there for hours. Now, of course, that's assuming that I have money to spend. If I don't have money to spend, I don't even want to go in there because it's just a tease. But I remember there was a lot of furniture outside with the free stuff, like, and there was like a king size bed, and there was like a couple box springs, and then there was this like love seat, like couch thing that folded out into like a bed, but like the cushions of it were all kinds of messed up, so you couldn't really lay on it. That I remember I specifically looked at that piece, and I remember saying, somebody asked me, what do you need that for? And I said, I could use it for the dogs. So, when I'm writing it down, a lot of times, like, I remember stuff as I'm writing it down, or like as I'm reading it back. 15:51 on the timer. I'll remember things that I didn't remember when I was writing it down. Copper quit. I don't know what's got them started licking on the blankets again. They had quit doing that for a while, and they've started doing it again, and it drives me bonkers. But I feel like there's a very significant Livingston being there, the couple with the singing bowls, and the guy that led me through the tunnel outside where we were with the duck. And to me, the duck thing, I'm going to have to Google the spiritual meaning of mallard ducks, because to me that it was like the cutest moment of the dream, but to me it's very significant. And I really wish that I could remember what that guy looked like. I want to say he was really, he wasn't like an old man. He was just older than me. And I remember, now that I'm talking about it, when we were walking through the tunnel, there was somebody coming from the opposite direction. And like, he didn't want me talking to that guy, whoever that was. It's like at some point there was a doorway in the tunnel. And that's kind of where we like intersected with each other. And there were lights in the tunnel. It wasn't dark. And I wish I could remember what the couple looked like. Like if I know I need to write that down too. I was wearing bib overalls. Bibs, overalls, whatever you want to call them. And so was the lady with the couple that was playing the singing bowls. And they had different like handmade stuff out there that they were selling. And it's like they were just playing the singing bowls while they were out there selling. And they had a YouTube channel. And I was like, when she was telling me about it, I was like, holy crap. I just watched your video the other day. Like, I saw that video. And she was like, oh, let's go on and check it out. And I was like, yeah, I liked it. And I shared it. And, I subscribed to your page. And we couldn't find it. And the guy was like, no, it tells us everything that people do on the channel. And we're not, it's not showing you here. And I was like, by God. I got my phone out. And I was like, yes, I did. Yeah. And then that's when the guy came over and got me. I mean, he didn't get me, but we started talking. And I don't really know why he was taking me through the tunnel. I don't really know why he took me outside. Maybe that's where the keys came in. Maybe I had lost my keys and he was trying to help me find them. I don't really know, but... And the storm coming, to me, that seems very significant. But nonetheless, I'm going to end it there. 1944 on the timer. I'm already at 20 minutes. It's going to take this video forever to upload. But, paper can disappear. No matter whether we want to admit it or not, even if we delete these videos, YouTube will always have them. So, as always, be blessed, find peace. If you have any details, if you can give any insight to, dreams and what any of this might mean, please feel free to share it in the comments. And I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed, find peace.